Here we are. All right, we are recording, folks, just friendly FYI. So good morning, everyone. This meeting might look a little similar to those of you that were able to attend our Region 1 meeting. Gosh, was that only last month? That was last month. And we wanted to get a smaller group together because some of you took the engagement survey and indicated that you were yes interested or maybe interested in helping to volunteer on the Region 1 team. So that's why we've gathered here today. So thank you very much for giving your time to joining the cause. Should be fun. We wanted to take a little bit of time to just kind of review what we as a region are looking to accomplish. So can everyone see my my screen okay? Oh God, I'm doing the clicking craziness. Sneak preview. Leo, you didn't tell me how hard this is. All right, so yeah, so just a few Zoom housekeeping notes that we're all pretty accustomed to these days. Definitely keep yourself on mute, but since this is a much smaller group than we had last month, we do encourage you to unmute yourself regularly to help engage in conversation. And some of you have volunteered with ACECED-I before, so we appreciate any jumping in that you'd like to do to help add to the conversation. So a little bit less of Leo, Michaela, and myself just talking at you this time around. So definitely feel free to unmute yourself. Something that I totally forgot to do that Michaela is doing well right now is please do rename yourself. So you can click on the ellipses on your face and rename yourself to include your institution. Oh shoot, guys, I just went all the way to the end. There we go. I'm not renaming myself because I can't be trusted with this keyboard right now, but that's the story there. So so please rename yourself. And then again, this is a small group, so feel free to pop things in the chat. Or you can also use the reactions features like the hand clapping or the thumbs up. We highly encourage that. And then if your internet allows and you feel comfortable inviting us into your home, please do turn on your video. We'd love to see your little faces. But if not, that is totally fine. I think folks are good at making their profile pictures fit their campus or their lifestyle or just the professional headshot, so that's fine too. And then as you saw, we are recording this because there are some folks that indicated interest that weren't able to make the call today. So just a friendly FYI that we are recording this, and so we will post it to our regional page afterwards as well. So on to the next. So starting out with introductions. So I'm Kelly Mason. I am currently the region director for Region 1. Have worked with a lot of you on a lot of different ACECED-I things before. We'll actually find a way to do introductions between all of us this morning, so just get excited. So we'll do name, institution, your involvement with ACECED-I, and I think also we'll do a little bit of fun in there and ask you for your most frequently used emoji or Bitmoji or GIF, you know, to indicate, you know, whatever. What's your go-to when you're texting people. So, so yeah, Kelly Mason. I work for University of Colorado, Denver, and the Anschutz Medical Campus as the assistant director of events. I've been part of ACECED-I for about 6 years now, and it's super awesome. Love it. And yeah, stepping into this region director role for this year. And I think my most frequently used emoji, gosh, this is hard. I should have thought about this in advance. I think I do like the blessed a lot, like the oh, bless, like I do that quite a bit, or like thank you. It's also great when you can act out your emoji. So that's me. Michaela, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Michaela Erickson, and I am the Regional Director-elect. I also work for the University of Colorado, Denver. I work at the business school downtown here in Denver, Colorado. And so I've been with ACECED-I about the same time as Kelly, about 6 years, and looking forward to stepping into the Region Director position. following in both Kelly and Leo's footsteps and getting involved in ACED-I a little bit more. So yeah, and really excited about how many people we have today to hear about volunteer opportunities. So I would say my most used emoji is probably the kissy face one. You know, in the UK, we have a bad habit of texting with using X, or you know, using the letter X as kisses at the end of text messages, and now they have the kissy face. There's no confusion when I do that to people who don't know what the X's mean. So it's kind of a fun one. There we go. Pass it on to you, Leah.
Thanks, Michaela. I like the challenge as you're comfortable too to act out your emoji, depending on what it is, if it's appropriate and you're comfortable with it. So we'll see. I'm pulling up mine on my phone right now to see what I've got to work with here. Howdy y'all, my name is Leo Young. I am serving currently as your immediate past regional director, and I work at Cal State Fullerton with our University Conference Center, which is located in our Student Union building. I've been involved with ACED-I, I think about the same amount of time as well. We're all kind of along the same tenure, Kelly, Michaela, and I, for about 6 years. And my most frequently used emoji, as I look down at my phone and see here, is the like, and I don't know if this is indicative of the times we're in or what's going on here, but it's the like eyes up and like the sigh, and it's like that guy. Take that for what you think it might be. Who knows what kind of conversations I'm having via text these days. But I think one other thing that Michaela and Kelly both shared, I'm super excited to have this group of volunteers here. I've gotten to work with many of you before, and some of you not yet, but I'm super excited for it and the year ahead. And it's just right now, just this weird mixture of like Zoom burnout and exhaustion, but also excitement. So if I show up in a very weird way today, part of that's just me, and part of that I'll blame on COVID and everything else going on. But we're excited to have y'all here.
As you should. Blame it on the COVID, Leah. All right, I'll help to facilitate so we don't start talking all over each other. But Mei Chen, would you like to go next?
Sure, my name's Mei Chen Wu. I work at the University of Washington Seattle campus. I'm the manager of event reservations in the Student Union building. I think I've been involved with ACCED-I for about 3 years. This would have been my 3rd annual conference, so I think that sounds about right. I currently work with the Student Development Action Team, which I've been really enjoying. So that's kind of the level of engagement I have with ACCED-I so far. And I think my most frequently used emoji is the like teeth smiley face. Yeah, so that's how that works. So yeah, thanks.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mei Chen. Tyler, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Tyler Peterson. I am from the University of Washington, Tacoma. I am the operations manager for conference services on our campus. I've been with ACED-I for probably about 7 years. And then I helped volunteer a little bit last year with Region 1. And I would say my most used emoji is the thinking emoji. Just because there's a lot of questions during the time, I guess. I would assume, anyways.
Nice, that's a good one. Trina, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Trina Horsey, and I am the Conference and Event Services Coordinator at Western Oregon University. I have been a member of ACED-I, I think 2.5 years, almost 3. This would have been my 3rd annual conference, but I wasn't actually planning to attend. So I went to a software conference instead, which super boring. Don't recommend it. I have emojis that I use at work and emojis that I use at home. So I'll tell you about my emojis that I use at work. And it's mostly the winking emoji these days because, you know, a wink and a nod, we don't know what's happening. So we're just all like, hey, we're just doing our thing, wink.
Your event's not canceled yet.
Yeah?
But it will be.
Right, the COVID undercurrents. This is an interesting one. All right, let's bring it round. Cal, would you like to go next?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Cal Bourne. I serve as the guest services manager within conference and event services at CSU, Colorado State. Been with CSU for coming up would have been my third summer, which really isn't a summer anymore. But haven't done a lot of involvement with ACECED-I just yet, but looking forward to getting more involved. And I would have to say my favorite emoji or most used emoji would be the crying laughing one. I feel like I just have to laugh a lot lately to get me through. So.
This is a good check-in on all of our emotional states too. This is actually a good well-being conversation as well.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Cal. Let's keep it in the CSU fam. Lauren, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Lauren Gleason. I have been at Colorado State as the director now for 5 months. So it's been interesting. I was in the office for about 2 months before we were sent home and just trying to figure it all out. So my background is in campus services and athletics. And so new to ACECED-I, and which is why I'm on the call and just excited to be here. And I'm shocked that no one's mentioned the emoji I use the most, which is the thumbs up. I mean, I'm just like, all right, cool, thumbs up, thumbs up.
Yes, I can't wait for Zoom to incorporate more emojis and reactions in. I feel like that's got to be the next step, because
Very limited.
Yeah, right now it's very limiting, but the thumbs up I use on Zoom quite a bit for sure. Awesome, thank you, Lauren. Lena, would you like to go next?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lena. I'm from the University of California at Davis. I've been with ACE, gosh, I'm embarrassed to even say this, 20 plus years, and have served in the role of regional leadership and currently serving on the board. And my favorite emoji is the laughing emoji, because if I don't laugh, I will just start crying uncontrollably these days. So it's my go-to all the time. I just laugh at everything because that's what I do. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Lena, holding it down. Aria, would you like to go next?
Sure, thank you. I don't always share my video. I have really horrible connection. I live in the mountains, love it in Colorado, but that's one of the downsides. Hi, everyone. My name is Aria Tolne. I work with Colorado School of Mines. I'm the conference manager there. I began that position March of 2019, so very new to ACECED-I, and I've been attending my very first conference in Providence, but hopefully it'll be even better next year. My favorite emoji is the thumbs up. I think it's just easy. It's like, yep, I got it. I'm on the same page with you. It's just quick, easy, and yeah, I use it in my personal life and in work.
Awesome. Thank you, Aria. Yeah, hopefully when we can get to the next annual conference in Albuquerque, Region 1 will show up in force. It's not a long drive. Michaela and I are like, we will drive, we will get there, we will make it happen. Tyler, thank you for being on brand. Switching up that background, very strong. Let's see. Catherine, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kat. I work for Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, and I am the new assistant director over conference services. But I'm currently furloughed for an indefinite amount of time, so that's why I'm at Disneyland, because I'm not working. But yeah, I've been with ACECED-I for about 5 years. So I was previously in an event manager role, and then now I'm in the assistant director role. So kind of a crappy first run at things, but hey, it's all good. So I'm excited to be part of, volunteer more and learn more about ACED and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Kat. I know Leo's a frequent Disney flyer. You know that. Representing. Thank you. And congrats on the new role.
Thanks.
Moving on up. All right. And then Sonia, would you like to go next?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sonia Hall. I'm from Chapman University in Orange, California, and I'm the Director of Event Scheduling here. We actually just joined ACED-I, I think, in February, looking forward to the first conference. So we were all pretty sad when it got canceled, but we'll try again next year, I guess. And so I'm excited to see what opportunities I can find, whether volunteering or other things here. My favorite is by the face. I think it's kind of like jazz hands. Yay. I do that one a lot when I'm trying to be positive.
That's right. Lean into that positivity these days. Thank you very much, Sonia, and welcome. We'll see you at a rescheduled ACED-I conference. We will do it. Awesome. All right. I think next is it Michaela?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump right in. And as you guys know, one of the reasons, or at least we want to make sure we know the goal for being here today and just what we're going to go over, which is really, we just want to let you know about the regional committees that we have available for you to volunteer on. So that then you can really have an understanding of what the roles, responsibilities are around those committees and see how involved you want to get. You know, we think it's really important for our volunteers who give their time to understand the commitment and to be happy with what they're doing. And I know one of the things that Kelly, Leo, and I want to stress is that we can really make it work for you. We're really happy to have people on board and helping us. And so we can make these committees work for you and get you involved in whatever level you want to. We just want you to choose something that you're passionate about or you enjoy, or maybe it's just an easy option for you and you want to help, and this is the easiest option that you can take on and still be involved. So just know that as we go through it, because sometimes when you see the fact that there's 7 committees, it's like, oh my gosh, there's 7 committees. how do we get you, you know, if there's only, you know, 12 people on this call, it's like, you know, divide it all up. There's not too many people on each committee, but each committee is very unique, and some is less work than others, and some are a lot less time than others as well. So it actually works out pretty well. So today we're going to go over each committee relatively briefly, but there will be chance for Q&A. So if you have specific questions about a committee you're interested in, please ask. We're just going to look at the dates, deadlines. So those are some of the things that drive our calendar for these committees, the typical tasks that we would do on each committee, and the Google Drive, which is, just to give you all a heads up, we utilize Google Drive with ACED-I to share information and toolkits and surveys and all kinds of things. So, you know, I don't think we're going to go into too much detail on the Google Drive today, but just know that's where we keep our stuff, and we'll share that information with you post this training. So, yeah. Let's jump right in, shall we? I think we're going to start off with awards with Leo.
Yeah. All right. Well, as Michaela kind of mentioned, we just want to, while we focus on getting you plugged into what your area of interest is, or what you have capacity for, or potentially what's offering you a challenge and an opportunity to develop in the way that you give back to the association, we really want to also make sure that you have clarity around what these various roles and involvement capacities may be. And that is, I think, from my experience in the role of regional director, and from wisdom shared with me from past ones, some of whom may be on this call, that clarity is, I think, tantamount to the work that we do and the role that we serve, is to make sure you have a very clear understanding of what you have to contribute, what's expected of you, and whatever role you take on, so that you can do that efficiently, because all of our times are so valuable, and we appreciate the time that you're giving to ACED-I so much. So with that in mind, we'll start with the first committee we want to go over is the awards. And the purpose of this is really just the purpose of the awards in general, the awards and recognition. There is an action team for it, but we support the element of soliciting nominations throughout our region. And the awards and recognition component of ACECED-I exists to promote professional achievements and award opportunities that are available through ACECED-I. So this could be a number of different things. I'll run through the different awards in just a second. But we set a goal in our region, each region does, to have at least one nominee for each award from our region. So that looks for our volunteer opportunity with this, it's really just soliciting those nominations. And that can play out in a number of different ways. A lot of it happens through social media. So I think that's not necessarily a requirement to be on Facebook, but that's definitely a tool that helps to kind of be connected and engage with people in that way, and to connect with potential nominators. If you hear about things that are going on, people that are doing things, or people that are associated with people that are doing things, we can tap them to either self-nominate or nominate others. And so that Facebook component helps. Again, it's not essential though, as long as you're connected within the region, you have people, and we'll help to establish some of those connections as we can. Then this could be a great opportunity for you, volunteer opportunity for you. So it's really that simple. It's kind of an easy committee. Mine are, they give the older people, or even though we're all 6 years in, they give the more seasoned people, I guess, the easier stuff for whatever reason. But it's just solicitation of awards. So hopefully that's pretty straightforward and easy, and that goal is pretty straightforward and clear too. To go through what they look like, the awards are listed on your screen. So we've got the Inclusive Excellence Award. That is a new award that is being offered by the association in, I think it's an affect of our increased focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So anyone that's doing good work in those lines across our region, we want to make sure we're keeping an eye out for, and getting them nominated so that we can recognize them and ultimately to represent Region 1, so that we can have the most awardees of any other region. The next award listed is the Jack Thornton Distinguished Service Award. That is an award that is named after one of ACECED-I's founders. That is somebody who has contributed to an ACECED-I in a really exceptional, incredible way over several years. There are actual, if you're wanting to know or needing to read as we get into the timeline of you actually serving in this role, there are paragraphs of criteria for each of these that are listed. They're on the website. They're also in a toolkit in our Google Drive, which Michaela mentioned earlier. We're not going to go into those now because we don't want it to just go in one ear and out the other, but we can go through that and talk through about what those are once we start working with this committee, and I'll have those conversations with the volunteers that work with me on this. We have the Outstanding Individual Achievement Award, as well as the Outstanding Institutional Achievement Awards for single event and long-term process. So those are meant to recognize just that, either an individual, a professional in the work that they do, or an institution, a particular university or college, for a single event they did. Maybe it was a big commencement or a big special event, like when LMU had a debate on their campus or something like that, or if it was a long-term process. So we just overhauled whatever it is, our reservation process, and brought it fully online. We want to recognize those substantial achievements and that progress that's happening on those campuses. We have an Outstanding New Conference and Event Professional Award that is meant to recognize people new to our industry. I think that new qualifies as anything 3 years and under, if I'm not mistaken. And we have an Outstanding Mentor Award as well. So somebody that is really excelling in shepherding other members and other people in our industry along the path and helping them to contribute to our industry and our association in great ways. And then there's the Patrick Perfetto Volunteer of the Year Award, which is meant to recognize the volunteer, could be you someday, that has really given back in an exceptional way throughout the year. So as far as a timeline, when we look at that, it's really concentrated in the months of November and December. So you would be soliciting nominations during those timeframes, early on in November is when we would really start, and potentially as early as late October, but so it just kind of depends on how the weeks fall out. We would start brainstorming strategies and maybe start having conversations about a strategy for soliciting nomination amongst the awards committee volunteers, and then start to solicit those in November as we get into that. The actual call for award nominations is handled by HQ, as well as the notice of ending that, and then the actual review and selection of awards, all that happens by the Awards and Recognition Action Team. So this volunteer role is just purely that, soliciting nominations. So we'll start late October, early November with a game plan, coming up with that collectively, and then carry out that game plan, get those nominations in, as many as we can get for as many of the awards as we can get. And that's that. Anyone have any questions about the awards process, volunteering for that committee, anything at all?
I have a quick question, actually.
Yeah.
Do we know about our 2020 awards? Are they, I realized I didn't even ask this, are they going to announce those probably virtually?
Yes. Cal and Karen are actually, I think they were last week actively recording, or they still may be actively recording the virtual show that's going to be happening. Lena's nodding, nice, saying, yes, I'm not just making this up. Thanks, Lena. So that should be released really soon.
Awesome. That's great to hear. And I was just looking on the ACED-I website too, and there's a lot of, under the About and the Awards and Recognition page, if anybody's interested, there's a lot of great information about who the recipients have been in the past, what for, and then also what each of the awards is about. So that's a good resource as well.
Thanks, Michaela.
All right. I'll transition us over to the next committee. So this one is Outreach and Recruitment, which Leo and I tag team. And this really goes to our members. This is something that works to recruit members, retain members, and just get people to continue on with their membership. So it's a really, it's an ongoing kind of on-demand sort of task. Sometimes we can make it really active if we want to. And other years it's more of just like, you know, working to make sure that people stay engaged with their membership, or that they receive that additional reminder that reach out to say, hey, I think you really should like renew. And I think not only is this something that is the financial drive to the association, it's also just adds to the diversity of knowledge and experience of the membership overall. You know, we all benefit. I think it's a very common thing to say, you know, we all benefit from the relationships in ACED-I, and being able to reach out to Tyler in Washington and be like, what's going on with you up there? What's happening over here? Have you ever solved this problem, Mei-Chun? Like that, just having that breadth of knowledge that comes from having so many members across the country is just invaluable to the overall health and wellness of the association as a whole. So this committee is really important. And we can tackle it in a number of different ways, but one piece of that is recruitment, so recruiting non-members, and that can be accomplished. We can work together as a group to develop a list along with Devin, who's our director of membership with ACED-I headquarters. She can help to develop a list of people within Region 1 who are not currently members that are at an institution that's identified to have a conference and events operation, or people like us. And so there's all sorts of tools in the toolkit for how to reach out to those people, or maybe there's an institution in your neighborhood that maybe doesn't have a membership with ACED-I, and they might appreciate a friendly reach out, asking them to join up and trying to, you know, impart to them what you glean from the association as a whole. So I know a couple years ago, Michaela and I hosted a drive-in at CU Denver, and we invited people who were not part of ACED-I. We actually are a weird campus that shares a campus with other institutions, and so we invited those institutions to attend and just say, hey, you know, we're here, and if you're interested in learning more about ACED-I, here you go. It doesn't have to be super salesy. It can be just kind of that friend raising sort of strategy. So That's really important. Another piece of the pie is welcoming new members. So that's something that Leo and I tag team doing. And for Sonia, you probably got one of these from us, but a friendly email saying, hey, here we are, here's who we are, here's the link to our Facebook where we post all the time, here are some events coming up, trying to do that, reach out to say, hey, we're glad that you're here, let us know how we can get you connected. And so Leo welcomes all the brand new members, and I welcome the members who are like updated on people's rosters. So there are different types of memberships, right? There's the individual memberships if someone just joins on their own, but there's also an institution where you can have multiple people. And so I help to welcome the people that are cycling on and off of the rosters. So and all of these things, Michaela mentioned the Google Drive at the front. We have updated rosters that get populated in there. And so that's something that we use to kind of track all of these pieces and parts along the way. And one thing that I think is going to be really important this year is membership renewals. You know, we all are leading into this kind of financial uncertainty, and I think it's going to be really important that we as a volunteer group help to support our members and try to talk them through the different options that ACECED-I is making available to them, because we don't want to, you know, again, we don't want to lose members because of the financial piece, but we also just don't want to lose members because we don't want to, you know, lose those pieces from our membership, those people that really enrich the overall ACECED-I experience. So I think this particular group is going to have a good lift this year of making sure that people are just having like those friendly reach outs to make sure people, you know, see the benefit of their ACECED-I membership and are going to work to advocate for it to their institution, because I know those professional development things are sometimes one of the first things to go. So as much as we can help to support people so that they can maintain that membership, I think that'll be really important this year. So yeah, so as I said, it's kind of an ongoing, on-demand kind of thing. And so we can kind of build that to be what it is. And so for this piece, it's more of a role if you want kind of that ongoing engagement as a volunteer, something that you can tap into like every other week or every month or something like that. Just kind of, that's kind of the expectation on that particular piece. And the Google Drive has lots of different resources in there, like what the membership levels are, little flyers to help advertise it, and great resources for how to sell the benefit of your membership to leadership. So you're not just going into the whole thing blind, is basically what I'm trying to say on that front. So yeah, so that is the outreach and recruitment. Does anyone have any questions on that or have had any experience with it before? Cool. I think next up, I think, is Leo again.
Yeah, and I would just add for the outreach and recruitment, as Kelly mentioned already, but just to highlight it, that is one of the volunteer committees that really allows for some creativity. So if that's you, if it's there are some of these committees that are very prescribed and it's kind of regimented, and here's what we need, this is the system, this is how this works, because we know that's what some people need and that's how they can get back. And then there are others that are creative, and that's definitely one of those, along with another one a couple others that we'll go over later. So if that's you, if you've got that creative mindset, that could be a good fit. But moving on to elections, and speaking of more regimented things again, the elections committee is charged with actively soliciting new leadership nominations to bolster the efficacy of our leadership, which is fancy wording that that essentially means we want to have a good ballot. We want good options, as opposed to other things that we may be voting on soon that may be not quite as great. We want our ballots to be even better. So this committee really works to set a goal of at least 2 solid candidates to run for the position of regional director-elect, and at least 2 candidates to run for board of directors from our region. So to get to those goals, we really focus on collectively, as a team, this volunteer committee, developing a list of potential candidates, soliciting nominations for those potential candidates. And you can, again, just like awards, self-nominate or have the nomination of others. You need some sense of support from somebody else in the association in some way, but it can originate from you. So if I think when I ran, somebody reached out to me and floated the idea, and then we just found someone to actually nominate me, whereas others have just been nominated by others with their consent and approval. So collecting those nominations, potentially submitting some of those nominations yourselves as volunteers in this committee can think of those people, and that's the bulk of that work. As well as to, I think the other thing to know in this, and there's, we've mentioned this with various other committees, and so I'll highlight it here, is there's great tools for you that headquarters and the leadership development action team and regional leadership have developed over the course of the history of our association that really makes this really easy. Kelly was alluding to some of that with some of the tools that are out there for outreach and recruitment. Those same great tools exist for this too. And the way of how to connect with people, to personally invite them to run, providing insights into what benefits there are to run for an elected position, a position of leadership, the opportunities to give back and to encourage people in that, and to help others to understand what's fully involved in that. Because we recognize you may not, as a volunteer, fully understand our roles. We'll work to make sure, if you're a volunteer on this committee, that you do understand what they are, so that you can communicate that to members as you encourage them or rope them into running for a position, hopefully. The actual election process and announcements and all that is all done by ACCED-I headquarters. So the timeline for this is, it really takes place over October and November. And those months just looking at the timeline, if we can go to the next slide, thanks. In October, that's when during the last week is when the call for nominations for these positions for the board and the regional director-elect will be sent out by headquarters. Then we'll start soliciting nominations. So we might meet mid to late October to start discussing a game plan for what that nomination solicitation process looks like. And then that goes on for 2 weeks into November, when nominations are due at the end of the second week. Eventually results will close in December, and new election winners are announced by the headquarters in late December, just before the holiday break for most people. That should overview everything. Any questions anyone has or insights people have that may have served in this capacity before? Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Leo. Okay, so the next committee is the Scholarships Committee. And this committee is kind of overseen by myself and Kelly. And so we essentially here are trying to promote giving away money. So super easy. But of course, as you know, we need people to be to go ahead and apply for that. So really our goals, and I apologize because I didn't type them on the screen, I just put them in my notes, but the goal of the Scholarships Committee is to promote the opportunities, and then we're going to then look at all the applications and then decide who we would like to put forward as a scholarship recipient. We want at least about 5 applicants for the ACCED-I headquarters scholarship, which we'll look at in a minute, and then at least 5 as well for the regional scholarship. And so these scholarships primarily are for the conference, the annual conference. And we have also had some for the educational forums as well. So we'll look at that in a minute. But the typical tasks have been to promote and remind members of the dates and the deadlines, because they always come up really quick. And a lot of people, including myself, go, oh, I'll apply for that like last minute. And then you realize there's more work to it than just putting your name in the hat. You have to, write a little application and get a couple of references. And it is time, but we want people to be committed to going to the events that we're giving scholarships for. And so there's a little bit of a process there, but You know, the task of the committee again is really to remind deadlines, to really say, hey, people, get your applications in. We've got money that we want to give away and we want to send you to some great events. And then of course we'll review the applications and select the awardees. For the regional one, Kelly, I'm right in saying we don't review our own region applications, right? So like we wouldn't review if somebody put an application in from Region 1, we would instead be given like Region 2's applications. And that's just to help make it fair, because the chances are we know a lot of more people in our region. So we want to be a little bit unbiased there when we're selecting our nominees. So if we move on to the next slide, we can look at the typical scholarships that headquarters is giving out. And I'm going to say this with a slight caveat in that this year, because we had the annual conference is, you know, was obviously cancelled. We are still doing conference scholarships for next year. The educational forum scholarships are kind of TBD for this year. Educational forums used to be events that were in person versus virtual. And so there was a lot more cost involved with people traveling and a registration fee. And this year it's not. And so this year, they haven't quite released information on those ed forums. We're piloting some costs associated with attending the virtual educational forums. So headquarters is handling that. But typically the dates for the scholarships, so for the annual conference scholarships, we start promoting in October to get applications sent. I think the last week of October is when they are due for the regional scholarship committee. And then in November is when the scholarships get decided and we send out the confirmations. That's the regional ones. Headquarters is just like a little bit later. So we call for scholarships in November, applications, and then we close it in Friday and we get everybody their information before the new year. So for the most part, everybody knows by the end of the year if they're able to attend the annual conference, which registration usually opens. It might open in December, actually. I think early bird closes in February or something. So that way everybody kind of knows what financial ability they have to go. And yeah, like I said, ed forums, they normally happen throughout the year, normally right around about a month ago, we would have been dealing with some educational forum scholarship stuff, but right now they're just on hold, and anyone who sits on this committee or helps out with soliciting those applications and reviewing will have more information on the ed forum scholarships soon about what's going to be available. So I think that covers everything. Kelly, any other notes on that?
I think the one piece that I will just add in here, I hope you all are starting to see some parallels here between a lot of the committees. Obviously, the busy time for ACECED-I committee work is that like late October, November, December time. And so that's something to consider as well, depending on your role. Like in my role, I do special events and our commencement ceremonies. So like December is kind of a tough time for me. And so back when I was not in this particular role, I probably wouldn't have signed up to be part of those groups that help to review like scholarship applications and stuff like that, because it's just a tough time. But if you're a summer conference person, then you might happen to have more time depending on what your timeline is for developing processes and procedures and contracts and stuff like that. So just something to consider on that particular front. And like Michaela said, we'll have more information soon about Ed Forum scholarships. I think there's an opportunity there for us to do that, but it just depends on the financial of the association. But I think that there will be a lot of people interested in the annual conference scholarships this year. I have a feeling we'll get a lot of applications, or even more than we did last year, as long as people's travel is possible around that time. But getting the registration fees covered would be a nice benefit. So
definitely. Awesome. All right, I'll pass it back to Leah.
I lost my screen. Sorry, y'all. Surely I can get this back. Come on. There it is. Sorry about that. All right, so the sponsorships committee. This is one of those ongoing year-round committees, so not concentrated on a particular point of the year. But the purpose of our sponsorships committee is to cultivate relationships with vendors and businesses who might be interested in developing a partnership with ACECED-I, becoming corporate members or sponsors to the annual conference or particular drive-ins or other types of events that ACECED-I may hold. So we ask for volunteers in this committee to recruit these potential corporate members and connect them with the ACECED-I Director of Membership. Her name is Devin, and that can look like a number of different ways. So that could be some of the tasks in more detail are really kind of compiling a list of potential corporate members, potentially brainstorming that with the committee members and trying to think of those. We have resources to help with that. There are vendor contact sheets. There's a sponsor tracking database and spreadsheet in the Google Drive, as well as just a document and resource for best practices for the steps to professionally recruit a sponsor of some kind. There's a tool for that. That should be the new volunteer slogan, by the way. There's a tool for that. Anyways, remember that weird space I was talking about earlier? This is it. The other typical tasks beyond just the corporate members is soliciting people for sponsorship of drive-ins and networking events. So for those regional events, those do need to be regional entities. So they're your more local things. If they're at a national level, then any of their sponsorship efforts would need to happen at a national level. So as we're potentially collaborating with our regional drive-ins and networking events committee, we can develop hopefully sponsorship packages for locally based corporations and entities that may be involved or may be interested in getting involved with ACECED-I. So that kind of outlines that. Our goals for this committee are to try to recruit at least one new regional sponsor per year. And that's someone who supports some type of event in some way that helps us in the way of lowering costs for regional events and potentially driving funds to raise for regional use for potential scholarships or other purposes. And then to also try to get at least 2 corporate members for the year. So that the time frame for that, if we want to switch over and look at the, if I can find it. I didn't do one. Oh, yeah, there's no calendar because we're doing it year round. So this would just be, if you're interested in this committee, we would just meet at some point relatively soon to just get started with the game plan of how we want to cover those various responsibilities. Anybody have any questions or insights they'd like to share about sponsorship efforts, sponsorship committee? Okay, great. Then I will kick it over. Oh, I don't know who's next. It's a surprise. Ah, Michaela, you're next, I think.
Me.
Kick it over to Michaela.
Yeah, second to last, I think, on our committees. So the social media / regional calendar committee. And so this is similar to the sponsorship committee in that this is year round. So our purpose here is really to get out information to our members, typically by social media, but we also have other mediums which we use to promote everything that's going on, everything we just talked about, what we're going to talk about with any driving and networking events, but also sponsorships, soliciting nominations. This committee is really about putting together a communications plan so that then we can get the information out there. So again, the purpose is up there on the screen, just about getting it out in regional newsletters, also to non-members if necessary, and then utilizing the website, the ACECED-I Connect, which you should see coming out every other week. So the typical tasks, really, Facebook is one of our most active social media areas, and so we do utilize that a lot. That doesn't mean that as a volunteer you actually have to be on Facebook on this committee. You absolutely don't. We can still brainstorm and we can still create posts, and then I can actually physically go into Facebook and put that stuff out there. We have other ways as well, other social media outlets that we can utilize. We'll look at those in a second. These are the typical ones here. So our bi-weekly ACED-I Connect news. So every 2 weeks, that changes a little bit. They do a little less in the summertime, I think it is. But you've probably seen those Connect newsletters, and there's like a region area there as well. So if we want something specific to our region to communicate, we can put it there. And then in tandem with that, we have the website, the ACED-I website that has a Region 1 section, which kind of mimics what is on that newsletter. And then there is a potential for a regional newsletter if we want them to be. So one of the things that I'll be putting out there with this committee is if we want to put effort into a quarterly or even a biannual, depending on what we want to do, a newsletter that just speaks to our region versus being part of the large ACED-I Connect newsletter. I know some other regions have started doing that, and it allows them to consolidate a lot of information and give some people some reading material during this time. So date, we create a calendar. So I've already started with the help of Kelly and Leo, just kind of putting together a calendar to outline especially all the dates that we just talked about with the elections, the sponsorship or the scholarship committee. And we want to make sure that we have those pinned down so we know when to promote them. So that part's pretty set, and the rest is really about being creative. So if you want to, start competitions, we talked a little bit about maybe a work from home desk competition, trying to get our members involved and reading the material, and just, even if it's just something to say hi everyone, hope you're doing well. We're going to have a social activity if you're interested. That's really what our purpose is here or as a committee is. If you're interested in just being out there and talking to people, then you can do that on this committee. Oh yeah, I did make a note here too. There's a little bit about moderating some of the content on Facebook or redirecting to other sources. So I know that I actually joined all the other regions' Facebook groups so that then I could see what else is going on, but also because they have great information there. And I was like, I want to borrow that and put it on our information as well. So if you're good at that, if you're good at like looking around and seeing what's available and reposting, it can actually be pretty easy content. Of course, we can get permission to make sure we can use it, but for the most part, it's knowledge that everyone's willing to share. So, so if we just move to the next slide, we'll just take a quick look at what our outlets are right now. So we mentioned the Facebook group, which is specific to ACED-I Region 1, but you can, and if you're not, you should be part of all the other regions' Facebook groups too, just so you can kind of hear what's going on over there. We do have a LinkedIn page. It's ACED-I in general. It's not specific to the region, but that's a nice place as well for us to be reposting some content, especially for those who aren't on Facebook but might be on LinkedIn. We all know it's maybe got more of that professional career edge as well, so that's interesting. We do have Twitter, again, at a national level or headquarters level for ACED-I, but we do have our own hashtag. So if you're a tweeter, then would love that experience. I'm on Twitter, I just don't tweet very much, so but it's an interesting platform to get some stuff out there. And then we do have an Instagram as well. ACED-I, again, it's at the headquarters level, and if we're looking for more visual stuff, posting pictures or doing content like that, we can certainly utilize the ACED-I Instagram page as well. And like I said, in tandem with all of that are the formal newsletters that go out from headquarters and then the website. So if you are interested in communications and social media and marketing, then we can put together a calendar and make it pretty easy and get our information out there and get people connected. And that's that on that.
Cool. Thanks, Michaela. And I will say, Trina and Tyler were our stalwart volunteers last year, rocking and rolling with the communications calendar. And I mean, I don't know if either of you want to pipe up here and speak to your experience, but you kind of dipped your toes in each of the volunteer committees. That's something, I know it seems like a lot of information, but it all just kind of merges together kind of in the end because it is so cross collaborative. I think a small and mighty volunteer group is actually better sometimes because you can just divide and conquer and then you're all kind of on the same page. Yeah, I don't know if Trina and Tyler, if either of you want to speak to your experience with all of these pieces.
I can throw a couple peanuts into the gallery, I guess. I would say that, yeah, I think once you kind of get into things, you'll see that it's very just across the board, how things kind of line up and tie into each other. And that kind of made things a little bit easier moving from like one thing to another. And then as far as like the commitment piece, having a kind of like that schedule and the calendar kind of laid out of like deadlines, and granted they were like hard deadlines as far as like it was a suggested deadline, but if we were busy that week, we obviously could, you know, flex a little bit as far as time goes. But I thought it was just, you know, I thought it was well structured. I know that the newsletter was something that we talked about last year, and it was something that we wanted to do, but we just didn't get to it. So I think that would be definitely something good to add this year.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tyler.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler.
Awesome. So in the last minute we have here, I'm going to talk about one of the big pieces to the puzzle, but this is one piece that a lot of people typically like to get involved in because we are planners, and a planner's got a plan. And so we like planning get-togethers and networking. And I think a lot of us are, you know, people that like to be around people or help connect people or help talk to each other. And so this is something that a lot of people are typically really game to become part of. And it really has a lot of symmetry also with the communications committee, because if you're going to plan something, then you got to communicate about the something. So really all these pieces end up being supportive of one another. But so the drive-ins and networking events committee, I mentioned this on the region meeting phone call last month, that obviously this is going to look a little bit different than it has in prior years, but just depending on how each of our states progress with public health orders, who knows what's going to happen. But our region has been particularly impacted by COVID, you know, with our friends up in Washington having a rough going of it at first, and then, you know, slowly spreading for the rest of us as well, and hitting, you know, Arizona and Utah quite hard right now, and California, really all of us. So this is going to have to look a lot like online education this year. And then also, you know, talking about that, the reach outs, the engagements, just that impromptu, informal connection, I think is what we're really trying to support this year. And so this will be something that needs a little bit of creative edge to it as well. But we really need volunteers to help be cheerleaders for this and help to recruit people to engage in these online education activities. So this group, we don't have to plan all the things, but we need to help recruiting people who can and help giving them structure. But I think that if you're interested in being part of this group, we can get together and brainstorm ideas, brainstorm contacts, build out a calendar as well. You know, the ACCED-I headquarters has done a good job of transitioning to online education and lots of those things. And so I think we don't want to detract from what they're doing, but I think we have a lot of expertise within Region 1 that can help to amplify and provide additional education to our members, especially those who are, you know, either seeking or maintaining a CCEP or a CMP certification. Not having the annual conference this year is quite a blow for your continuing education credits. So I think anything that we can do as a region to help support that education will be really important. So for those of you that have attended like a regional drive-in or an ed forum or an annual conference before, maybe go back to your notes and think back to a presentation that you really liked, or maybe a presentation that you've given either on your campus or in your area. And so just start maybe thinking of a list of people that we might be able to reach out to within our region, or anything that you might be able and interested to offer in an online format. I know some presentations like the one Leo and I were planning to give at the annual conference doesn't really translate very well to an online environment, but there's lots of other things like maybe now it just sounds like I presented with everyone, but like the one that Michaela and I did a couple of years ago, maybe we could transition that to an online environment. I just get around in the presenter world, guys. I present with a lot of people. But yeah, so I think this group will be a particularly fun group this year. We have a goal of, hosting at least one like every other month to kind of offset what the education action team is doing. But then also like quarterly doing more of those regional networking events. So maybe, after our meeting in May, folks were calling for more of those like small group breakouts, like maybe a SoCal group and a Washington group, an Oregon group. So I think let's start organizing those sorts of things. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an all-inclusive everybody thing. Like if Colorado wants to have a Colorado Zoom call, like we can fill out the form and get it scheduled and get it taken care of. And it's a little bit less of a lift than it's been in years past because you don't have to worry about the venue, you don't have to worry about food, you don't have to worry about those pieces. You can create a Google form and send out a Zoom link and you're there. So I'm hoping that while it's different, that people will choose to engage in it quite a bit, and hopefully, since it is a little kind of bit easier, it's just different, that we'll be able to pull off a good amount of these this year to help support members and make them feel like they have that sense of belonging. And then also those resources, right? Like COVID calls. I've been on so many of those, but I think, regionally we can do a lot of those as well as we look to the future and what sort of problems we're all trying to solve together. And the financial hardship that each of our institutions is going through too, I think as much free content as we can put out there, the better. And free content is also eligible for those education credits too. People don't have to pay for something in order for it to count for your CCP or CMP credits. So that's kind of the goal here, is just to support everyone, both their well-being and connection piece, but also that education lens as well. Michaela, Leo, or anyone else, did you have any pieces to add to this particular group? I know we're running just a hair over time.
No, I think that's a good summary.
Yeah, basic overview. I'm gonna skip to my longer slides. Don't worry about it. You've already seen these slides, and if you're gonna jump in on it, there's a tool for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Michaela, take us home.
Yeah. So I think thanks, Lena, for that comment. I love that. She was saying that when you get out of it what you put into it, so rewarding. 100%. I absolutely agree. Yeah. So thanks again for all being on this call. A couple of call to action items, if you will. So one of the next steps, as you guys all consider what committees you might want to be on, if you have more questions, email any three of us. We can get you to the right person. You don't have to remember who's on what committee, but we'll get you to the right person, and we'll answer any questions you might have if you need that to help make your decision on what committees you might want to be on. A reminder that on the ACECED-I website you can go and view again more detail, pretty much everything that we just talked about, but we'll share these slides with you all as well in case you want to review them again before you commit. The really important call to action for us here is that we do actually need you to officially sign up utilizing the sign up page on the ACECED-I website. And so actually you can go straight to acedi.org, or it's ace-i.org, and under the member network there's a volunteer opportunities. Again, I'll email out these instructions, but it's the regional involvement page, and you literally sign up. It says sign me up and it gives you more information on the committees as well. And what we're looking for is people to get signed up by the end of the week, so that's the 26th, I think is Friday, because we want to start putting together by July 1st. Here's our committee, and then let's get going on some stuff, or let's get people some action items, let's get people more information. We don't want to do anything last minute, and so we want to make sure that by July 1 we're kind of set with that. We'll be making the call out to the rest of the region as well via Facebook and email, for those who couldn't be on the call today, to sign up to be on a committee by the end of the week, and then that way we can reach out to you all by early next week and get everyone off to a running start. So I think that covers it all, unless I missed something on my notes. But otherwise, I think it's just a massive thank you for everyone being on the call. If, by the way, I know we're over time, but if anybody has time and wants to stay on, I have some time to stay on to talk to anybody. If you don't, then we totally understand that people need to be leaving as well. So, Kelly, Leo, anything else?
I think the only little piece I would add is we three think we're fun and you're fun too. And so we just want to continue, the circle of fun, and we would love and appreciate any assistance you're willing to lend. All your time and energy is valuable and much appreciated. So we just can't thank you enough for your interest today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would just, the last piece I would add, I think in any given year, the last thing we want to do is put pressure or anything like that on anybody. This is an association that's very, one of the things that's remarkable about it to me is just meeting people where they're at, taking them for where they are. I think even more so during this time. So I say that if there's any uncertainty, about what the future holds for you this coming year, if there's not, then tell me your secrets. But if there is, don't hesitate to commit to something. And if something comes up, we will deal. We'll be okay. But we'd rather have you volunteering if that's something you feel called and compelled to do and contributing, than not doing it because you didn't want to let us down or something like that. You're not going to do that. So don't hold back. Don't overcommit, but don't hold back from it. We'll figure stuff out when stuff comes up. It's kind of what we all do anyways.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Well, thank you all. Thanks, Cal and Trina, for your comments there, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Yeah. We're heading to the end of June.
That's right. What a different summer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, bye to everyone who needs to leave. Again, if anybody has questions, feel free to stay on. Otherwise, we'll wrap this meeting up and we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Bye, y'all.
All right.